Hey, what's going on with y'all good people? I want to welcome you to the Melanted Travelers Podcast, the podcast that shatters stereotypes that takes you on a captivating journey through the eyes of people of color as they explore the world. Join us as we challenge the misconception that travel is only for a certain demographic. Embark on a vibrant adventure with each episode as we share stories that showcase the rich experiences and perspectives of melanated travelers. From the banks of Cartagena to the mountains of Bali, the Melanated Traveler paints the picture of a vivid image of the global journey, one story at a time. Hosted by yours truly, Aston R. Williams, a podcast for the people. Welcome. All right, hey, what's going on with y'all guys? First and foremost, I want to welcome y'all back to the Melanated Travelers Podcast, episode 2. And I have an amazing guest in the building. And I have Miss Rokeya Thomas. And say hello, Rokeya. How you doing?
Hello, everyone. Hello, travelers.
Yo, so I'm gonna give y'all some background on Rokeya and just such an amazing story. And so y'all can actually her social handle is going to be down at the bottom of the show notes, and at the end of the interview I'm going to make sure that she gives us her social handle again. But her social handle is Miss Queen Ro. Y'all can check her out on
Mhm.
Instagram. Is it the same on all social platforms?
It is, yes.
Okay, perfect.
Instagram, YouTube, hmm
Okay,
and
perfect.
LinkedIn.
Perfect. Y'all make sure y'all go follow her, man. But she is the CEO and founder of the Royal Consulting. Royal Consulting. Okay, so basically, it began with she likes to really promote her life and promote positively in a very positive light. You'll see that all over her social media handles. And she also promotes travel and also professional, people that's interested in growing in their professions. She's awesome as well. So her passion for coaching, it stems from her working in corporate America for over 20 years. She's worked with and mentored over 100 employees that spanned across many different industries. And then once she realized that her influence was impactful through consulting and leadership, that's what transformed her career more towards career development. And I don't know if, and we'll dive deeper into your story. I'm sharing this with
Mhm.
you, but I'm going to ask you to dive deeper after I give the bio. But in 2020, right at the peak of COVID, a lot of companies had a lot of different cuts, a lot of different layoffs. Unfortunately, after her working for that company for so many years, and I think it was 17 years, correct?
17 plus.
17,
Yep.
17 plus years after working for that company, they laid her off. And you know what? And that was an eye opener for her. And she shifted into
hmm
the side hustle turned into the main hustle. And she
Right.
started a full blown career consulting business on her own. That's where you get the name the Royal Consultant. So some of her specialties. So she specializes in personal professional branding, graphic design, digital marketing, like modernizing your digital marketing. Also strategy and planning, consolidating business operations, and coaching for corporate employment development, including leadership, which I think that's key, and I think that's what everybody should be focused
hmm
on. Also, this queen is intelligent, man. So she holds a BA in communication studies, and she also holds an MBA in public administration, and that's like awesome. And I gotta
hmm
I gotta add this, y'all. This is a big flex because I look. I'm trying to get on her level. She's been to 23 countries, y'all. That's absolutely
Yeah.
amazing.
I actually need to update that. I've been to more. I've been close to 30 now.
Y'all hear the flex, y'all? Y'all hear the flex? But this not a podcast where we you ever notice like in the community, where especially in my community, like a lot of people don't the people I know haven't traveled as far as Mississippi. So when people see me, they like,
hmm
hey man, Essen, I see you. Like everybody not able. We're not saying that on this podcast. We want to give you your flowers now. We want to commend
hmm
you. That's a lot of knowledge
Thank
and
you.
experience. So we're just gonna dive deeper into it.
Thank
So
you.
anything else that you want the listeners and the viewers to know about you?
Yeah, thank you. And make sure I have Aston correct. Pronounce it for me.
And she said it right the first time, y'all.
Okay.
That's absolutely correct.
Because I've been calling you Mr. Williams. I'm like, no, I'm gonna call him by his first name, Aston. Okay, got it. It's very unique. I like it.
Yes, thank you.
But no,
Shout
that
out to
was a
moms.
it was a very detailed bio, and I appreciate it. You pretty much said everything. One caveat to when the company let me go, I actually got asked to stay, and
Oh
that's
wow, okay.
when, yeah, I actually got asked to stay. But it started with a reduction in workforce, so I was
Hmm.
going to be let off. But once they saw that I was actually going to leave, I got asked to stay. I got offered another position, but I said no. I think this is God calling me to do it, to do my own thing. I've been doing this side hustle for years. I'm gonna take this full time, and to put the icing on the cake, it's now 3 years in full time entrepreneurship. So God knew what He was talking about.
Pause, pause, pause. Let's get a hand clap for that, people. Let's pause for
Yeah.
that. That's awesome. That's wow. That's awesome. So
Yeah.
I mean, before we even get into the travel, because yes,
Mhm.
yes, this podcast is to talk about the our stories and to inspire the diaspora, but not only through travel but through business. So can you explain, like, first of all, not everybody's built to be an entrepreneur, but
Mhm.
sometimes we're forced into entrepreneurship. How did that feel? That fear. Let's talk about that for a second.
Everybody always asks, were you scared? Were you nervous to go into full time entrepreneurship? A little more anxious, not so much scared or nervous, because I had been side hustling for,
Hmm.
years. This wasn't mentioned in the bio, but I also hold full time a license. I'm also a licensed esthetician. So I do beauty on the side as well. I can do beauty, I freelance with that. So yeah, I am a
Okay.
jack of all trades.
Wow, that's awesome.
But I say that to say I was doing that first before I went into the business side. And I had been side hustling for since like 2008. I was in corporate America for full time and opened my own full time day job that I was doing that working that. So pretty much I was from morning to evening. I was doing something, whether it was corporate America or the side hustle. And from
Mm.
that scale, I say that to say from that scale is where I learned how to be an entrepreneur. So didn't have the skill set to go full time at the time because I was young and it wasn't feel
Hmm.
like I was ready. But
Hmm.
I had been entrepreneuring for like many years. So I'm like, okay, now when they offered me the position or the option to just, leave the company, I was like, I know now that I am confident to be able to open full time and carry the skill set that I learned from corporate America, from the entrepreneurship, and put that into my own business. So I say all that to say, yes, there was a sense of anxiety going in because you have to make sure you are set. Number one, financially, right? I had been I didn't know I was going to be let go at the company, but I was smart enough to know to where I'm gonna start putting things on the side, right? Just to make
Hmm.
sure things happen. I had set myself up with some investments as well. So all of that came into play when I was ready to go full time. Savings, investments, all of that. So that's helped me in with staying the first year or so, year and a half where I was full time to where my business picked up like it should have. I do not say that, and you are correct in saying full entrepreneurship is not for everyone because it's not.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's you
That's
have
fact.
you don't. It's not just you have to be ready financially. You do have to be ready. You have to have a mindset to do it because you are always working. Everybody's like, "Oh, you work from home. What work are you doing? You get to pick your own hours." I said, "You guys, y'all maybe sleep or settle down by like 6, 7 in the evening. I'm still up here hustling and working."
That's
Having
facts.
a
That's
business,
facts.
yes, having a business
Hmm.
is way can be way harder than working in corporate America. So you definitely have to have a mindset before doing it and a plan in place. I highly recommend if anybody to everybody's just like, well, I want to go straight from corporate America to full time entrepreneurship. I used to think that way. I do
Mhm.
not recommend that at this point because it's too many reasons why your business can fail or how it can fail. So just to make sure you can, if you are able to withstand it, stack your money the way you can, stack your skill set as much as you can before you jump ship and go straight to full-time entrepreneur. So I'm all for, like, if you can finagle your time to do corporate and side hustle for a little while, just do it, stack your money before you and know before you go ahead and jump into that arena because it's a whole different beast.
Yeah, that's facts because I think for me, and this is the first time I'm really broadcasting this publicly, but I literally these past few months have been forced off the cliff. I've always been on the edge of full time.
Mhm.
You know, I've owned a restaurant in the
Mhm.
past, real estate. You know, I have properties, um, but I've always, growing up having that sense of security, right? Um, but when
Right.
you jump off that cliff, to my listeners and to my viewers out there, I don't know what y'all believe in, but you know, God was definitely in control of the whole entire situation. Like
Right.
you just gotta jump and just know that one day your parachute is gonna open. You're gonna hit some rocks
Mhm.
down while you going
Mhm.
down this cliff. You're gonna get cut up. You're gonna get cut up. But
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
once that parachute opens, it's like, wow, okay, this is what I went through. So that leads me to my next question. To switch it back to travel, um, you talked about that anxiety. Um, even though I know you've been to multiple countries, let's start off with numero uno. Let's start off with the first one. How did you feel? Um, how did you feel as a black traveler leaving the country for the first time? And what was that first country?
Uh, okay, so I actually just thought about something. I thought my first time going solo was what I was about to tell you, was a cruise, but actually it wasn't. Technically, I haven't thought about this. I actually went to Germany was my first international country in the early 2000s. I flew over there by myself. So that technically, I guess that was my first time going solo. And then I met
Mm,
somebody when I was there. So
gotcha.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't even remember being scared. I just remember being really, really excited to get to get there. Honestly,
Mm,
it was a very long flight, obviously, and I was I think because I've always been a risk taker, I'm the one that will ride the biggest roller coaster. I'm the one that will probably
that's me.
well, I ain't gonna go bungee jump. Yeah, I'm not gonna go bungee jumping. That's not me. But something along those lines. Um, risk taker. So even that trip to Germany, I was just like, I wasn't scared. I just remember just being really excited.
Wow. So that's pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting that you brought up Germany because one of my good colleagues, I have two friends in my circle that have left the states and have um gotten citizenship elsewhere or visas elsewhere. Well, one has a visa, one has
Mhm.
citizenship. But anyway, he lives in Germany. Actually, he lives in Berlin, and the reason why I'm bringing up Germany, it just seems like Germany they're more open to different cultures. It seems very diverse, but I don't want to speak on a country that I know absolutely nothing about. So I want to get your background on Germany. When you were in Germany, did you experience any type of bigotry, any type of racism while you were in Germany?
My experience was a little bit different because although it was my first experience going solo to Europe,
Mm-hmm.
going to meet a friend at an army base, at a U.S. Army base.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
I was mainly on the base. I didn't really venture out that often, that much there. So, and when I did, I was with him. So I didn't really, and I was probably too young to even realize what, if there was racism, in that aspect. So, in that experience, no, I do not remember. However, fast forward to my other European trip to Croatia. Okay. This is how I knew. If I didn't know I was black, I knew I was black when I went there.
Come on.
Nobody. was mean, or can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you. No, I was like, come on, like,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Nobody, nobody was mean. Nobody thought I was, you know. Let me just say what happened. So this was a solo trip, and I'm walking up the streets. Croatia is this very, very small country, right? But there is hardly anybody, definitely none of us. It is hardly any brown people either. Literally, I was walking up the streets, just minding my own business, and not one, not two, not even three, but just about everybody I passed would stare. Not just look and turn away, but stare. Finally, probably after like the fifth person, I was just like, so I said, I was just like, I just smiled back because I'm like, you have never seen anybody like me. Though I was solo, but I was with the group, and the group, there was nobody that looked like me either in the group, but they noticed it too.
Mm,
And a couple people were American, so they were just they looked probably like the fifth person. They looked at me because I know they were uncomfortable. They looked at me, and I'm like, "Look, this is what I got to go through." And I just made them laugh because they were it was an awkward situation.
yeah, yeah,
I just
definitely.
said, "This is what I got to go through traveling to certain countries, to certain countries." I didn't even have braids that that time. I had like it was blonde. I had blonde crochet, so blonde hair, and I was really made up, just like make because this I just when I'm out I try to do my makeup and all that stuff. So I just came off with the confidence and the persona that I held. I guess it just threw everybody off, and I literally was stared at the whole time. And you would think it would make me uncomfortable. I was like, nah. I was like, look at me, honey. Look at me. If you want to look at me, this is what you're gonna get. So, but the people
Wow.
beside me were uncomfortable. But then yeah, but I just like I said, I laughed it off, and it was just like, hey, this is what I get when I travel. It's okay. I'm used to it. It's no big deal as long as nobody disrespects me or comes up to me in any kind of crazy way. It's fine. So that was probably the most the one and only country that I really experienced. And again, it wasn't even racism. It was just I looked different to them.
This is a question um that just came on my mind. Would you consider
Hmm.
most of the places you've been to, and I'll get you the name. I'll get you the name on after this question. But
Hmm.
do you feel like overseas? Do you feel like it's more so classism or racism? And I'll explain. I'll give you an example to add to the question. When I was in Peru, if you did not have a dog, I'm talking about those expensive
Oh.
dogs. You ain't no,
Mm.
you not nobody. Everybody had a dog.
Oh.
Everybody had a
Okay.
poodle. Everybody had uh, these expensive dogs that's 10, 20, $30,000,
Hmm.
$50,000 dogs. Everybody had a dog. They had dog parks everywhere. Shout out to Peru. It's not a neck at Peru. Shout out to Lima. Loved y'all city, by the way.
Right.
Uh, but when it came to classism, you could literally see like the haves and the have-nots. Like it was clear.
Hmm.
And it reminded me of New Orleans. I'm from Gramercy, a little small little town, but I do live about 20, 25 miles away from New Orleans. It's similar to New Orleans to me because like New Orleans is the only city in America I feel that has a multi-million-dollar property on one block, and then one block over it's a property that's in shambles. So I guess
Hmm.
give me a experience with that like overseas. Do you feel like it's more so classism than racism? Because I mean, if we're talking Latin countries, mostly most of those families are mixed with mulatto and African hues.
Right.
We have the same melanin. So I guess
Right.
dive deeper into that.
I think it just depends on where you go. If you go to somewhere like London, with in London, it felt like classism, not so much racism, because London is pretty diverse.
Hmm.
London, England, so the
Hmm.
UK, that is pretty diverse. I mean, there's plenty of Africans there, plenty of people that came from the West Indies that live in London. I didn't experience racism in London, but you do kind of feel out of place. I went during the time the Queen was alive, so especially so you do feel a little bit like if somebody's driving in the Benz or the BMW, and then you have another person that's on a bike, or maybe even this is a better example. Somebody's walking in a nice suit, the Versace or the Gucci, because there was
Mm-hmm.
a lot of name brands there. But then you have somebody just kind of just looks like they're just walking in regular casual clothes. You may see somebody look at that point. But again, I think that's just because, and I can't even say because England or the UK is a big country. I was only in London, so the countries outside of the city probably aren't
Mm-hmm.
like that. But where I was, I felt that.
How do you feel about London? Because I get so many
Hmm.
comments just from the travel family, right? The
Hmm.
travel creators, just like us that I talk to. They felt like, and it's not a knock at London, but they felt like 2 days max, and they was catching a train to go somewhere else. Like
I
just the
agree.
vibe
I
that they
agree.
was feeling, like
Yeah, I agree. So if you're going to do like that part of European trip, Paris, London, going into Amsterdam, all of that, I would I would book it to where you can ride the train through those countries. I think I stayed. I think it was 5 days. I stayed in London, but it was a 7 day trip because it takes a day to get there and a day to come back. So I think it was like 5 days. By the third day, I'm like, okay. It's a very and once you see, um, I was gonna say the Queen's Palace, but no, it's the King's Palace now. And then once you see some of the architecture and some of the other famous places in London, um, the few museums. The one I did like was Queen Victoria and Albert's Museum. I love that museum, especially since I know their history. After that, it's like, okay, I'm ready to go. It's again now
yeah, that.
different strokes for different folks, right? Oh, and not to mention, this is not just talking about UK. This is pretty much everywhere in Europe. The food, honey, mm-mm. The food is bland. So if if you're not trying to go to get some fish and chips, fries, or some places call them chips, which is fries, you pretty much you're not gonna go get any flavor. So with all of that in the combination, New York, London to me is just like this big New York. Although in
Mm.
New York you actually have more fun than I did in London, but it's not a place that you would say I'm gonna stay a whole week or more. Mm-mm. Yeah,
How do
plan to do a country hop.
how do you feel like? Well, since this is going to be something new in 2024 for travelers that's going to be traveling to Europe, they are requiring that we get a visa now. How you feel about that? You feel like that's petty or what?
I know, I
That to
know.
me that seems so
That's
petty.
so
Like
petty,
yeah.
so petty, so petty. Like, I mean, from what the research that I did, I mean, let me be honest, I was so disappointed in that to where I read the article, but I didn't do more research. I got to do more research before I go back to Europe. But I
Hmm.
hear from some of the people that saying it's not that complicated as people think it out to be. Okay, fine. But even to go through all of that is like,
Right.
wow, y'all really so that right there, the racism comes in because I think there's a deeper underlying reason why you want to be able to because I'm even talking about the U.S. because you have to have a visa to come visit us in the U.S. And I don't think
Yeah.
it should be that complicated for people to come over here. So now I know some places in Europe or Europe is trying to do the same thing as we're doing.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's
But
very
now,
difficult.
yeah, it's okay. So I didn't plan on going back to Europe in the next year, so I didn't even think about it. I had did my European trip before all this mess came out. I did it this year. Next year is back to the Caribbean or to South America. So I didn't think about it. But when I'm ready to go back to Europe, I'll do my research because it may change again.
Mm. Good old South America. Shout
Yeah.
out to the country of Colombia. Shout out to Peru.
Yeah.
Shout out to my friends in Brazil and Paraguay. Shout out to South America, man. Just want to pub y'all for a second. Have
So
you?
I'm trying to plan I'm trying to plan my trip to South America. Out of those countries, which one would you recommend?
That's easy. Colombia.
Colombia. So everybody says Colombia. Everybody has
Colombia.
been telling me Colombia. Everybody says that. And
Colombia.
my other black girlfriend, she was a girls trip and she came from Colombia. She said she had the time of her life. So it's on the top of my list to do that. But then I
Hmm.
told it to somebody else, and then he was just like, "Why you want to go to Colombia? You're a single female. I hear there's a lot of crime and stuff like that over there. I don't think you should go over there." I'm like, I did not hear that.
Let's see. Let's see. I'm glad you said that because see, I didn't even have to say anything. That leads to my statement and why I feel like Colombia is a great country. Number one,
Mm,
look at me. Although I live in a small rural town, I do live in two of the murder capitals of the world. New Orleans is always top three every year.
mm,
Every year.
mm,
But tourists come down here. This is the most
mhm,
visited city. New Orleans is the
mhm,
most visited city every year. But it's crime everywhere, and people get killed, people get murdered. The reason why I'm bringing this up, and that gonna leads me to my next statement, is that listen to my listeners and to my viewers on YouTube right now, is that the news here it paints the picture of danger in other countries when we have so many issues in our country itself. Like when I tell you, like, so my first international trip was El Salvador. A lot of people would look at me like I was crazy. El Salvador was one of the most dangerous countries in the world at one point in time. The new president came in, he made a lot of changes, and I never felt safer. I
mm,
felt safer in El Salvador than I do here. So, with that being said, okay, Colombia. Let's get into it for a quick little second. Colombia, yes, Medellin
no, that's
cartel,
right.
Medellin cartel, Pablo Escobar. Okay, guys, Pablo Escobar died in 1993. The country is not like that anymore. Cars are not blowing up, like planes are not blowing up. Like, yeah, he did some very, you know, evil stuff, right? But you still got some people.
Hmm.
Now, I got to be careful with what I say because I go to Colombia a lot. What I will say is, he had an evil side, but he's done a lot for the city of Medellin when he built that neighborhood, right? El Poblado, that's the neighborhood that he built. But overall, the country is beautiful. They have amazing people. The value of the dollar goes a long way there. So basically,
Hmm.
one U.S. dollar is equivalent to like 4,200 Colombian pesos. Your money can go a long way. Colombia just issued out a digital nomad visa, where people can get visas to come to Colombia. The most expensive thing you're gonna pay for is your ticket. Everything is fairly reasonable there. I'm talking like very reasonable. The food is great. If you want the coastal part of the country, I recommend Cartagena. Cartagena has started to pick up some um, some publicity when it comes to movies. Um, they just had a series come out. Y'all check out Fake Profile that was filmed in Cartagena, and also the movie called Missing. You know the girl that played off of Lord, what's her name? Uh,
Mm.
she played off of Best Man. That's the one he really did like.
Missing was Nia Long, right?
Neil Long, yeah, there you go, yeah. So Neil Long is filmed in that movie. Y'all should check it out on
Yes.
Netflix.
Hmm.
It's called Missing. But I don't want to turn this into a Columbia episode, but I just had to promote the country for a second. So she asks, it's the best. It's the best out of all of them. No offense to
Okay.
Brazil,
Okay.
no offense to Peru, but to me, Colombia. I mean, if you want New York vibes, you can go to Bogota. Bogota is beautiful. You want more like Chicago, go to Medellin. Cali, that is where people that look like us are the most. Is
Mm.
Cali, and Cali is the number one salsa capital in the world. And a lot of people don't know this. The second biggest carnival in the world is in Colombia. It's in Barranquilla, Colombia. That sits on the other.
Mm.
It sits on the coast of the Caribbean Sea as well. So, just a pub.
Oh.
Whenever you decide to go to Cartagena, I got some guys out, but I am your guy. You family now. You can hit me up anytime. so I can give you some information. So that leads me to my next point. Let's talk about language. Like, how did you feel as a Black traveler going to these different countries, and you may have experienced some language barriers, and how did you overcome that?
It's not as hard as people think, especially in Europe, because in Europe, most people speak English. A lot of those countries were colonized by the
Mm,
UK or by
mm-hmm,
Britain. So they started off with English anyway. Unless you were colonized by France, then it might be a little bit harder.
mm-hmm,
But for the most part, it's not as hard as people think. Google Translate is your best friend if you have to take it out.
mm-hmm.
But other than that, I think the hardest country that there was a language barrier, and I think it might have just been the area I was in, was when I went to Italy. Um, there, it was a little bit. Uh, I had to kind of break out Google Translate or get somebody to help me, or just like point if I needed something or whatever. But for the most part, it's not that hard. Like I mean, I do recommend knowing some words in the language that you're going to.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like eating, bathroom, goodbye, hello. It's not just that you would need to say it; it's just respectful as well. Just know the basic words, but other than that, most of them speak English.
I'm a former collegiate athlete, and when I went to El Salvador, after I left El Salvador, I was pissed off. I'm gonna be completely honest with you, because I didn't know the language. I didn't know the language. I
Hmm.
just knew, Buenos, like you said, Buenos dias, Buenos tardes, hasta luego,
Hmm.
all these
Hmm.
different phrases.
Hmm.
But I wanted to talk to the people. So after that, I started taking it like very like seriously. I started off with Duolingo, and then I moved to Falu and Bazoo, and now I have a Spanish teacher that teaches me Spanish 3 times a week. Shout out to Paola.
Oh,
Shout out to her.
oh.
Amazing, amazing teacher. So, are you like learning, like you trying to learn a different language now, or you know, dabbling in
So
different
I
languages?
no, not really. Spanish is probably I can get along in Spanish. Like I can mostly understand it the more I can speak it, because of just the people I work with here or I mingle with here. I know some Spanish, but to be honest, that I've been my example. I was talking about Europe because I think I've been to more European countries than I've been to more Spanish countries.
Mm,
Because so that for that reason it's more English. But in your scenario, if you're going to like South America where there's mostly Spanish speaking people, I can see that, and I wouldn't think that a lot of them would speak English either. So I would think, yeah, that would be a language barrier, and that may be actually the reason why I haven't thought to go to South America until now, because I didn't want to deal with that what you went through.
hmm.
Because again, I know some Spanish, but can I hold a good conversation? Probably not.
Yeah,
um,
I still
so
struggle.
I
I
didn't want to
still
deal with
struggle with
that,
that.
and yeah,
Hmm. I still
yeah, and
still to
with
this
me
day.
being a solo traveler,
Oh, good.
with me being a solo traveler, I have to keep that in mind. Yeah, I have to keep that in mind as a female solo traveler because I need to be aware of my surroundings and people I can talk to.
Google Translate was my friend for a very long time. It still is somewhat, but
Hmm.
I have a lot of friends in different parts of Central and South, so I talk to them on a regular basis. And let's talk about um. So how do you travel? Like, some people travel. They like more luxurious travel. Are you more hostel? Are you more mid tier? Like, how do you like to travel? How do you find these deals? Like, what different maybe apps or different websites do you use to find deals, or if any, or and then we're gonna get into what airlines the airlines you like to fly with, because that's a whole nother discussion. So what's
It
your
is.
what's your ways to travel hack? How do you travel hack?
First off, hostels have never been it. I've never done a hostel. I will never ever do a hostel ever. That is just not my thing. I have. So I'm gonna start with from worst to what I do. Hostels is a no. That's the worst. I did an Airbnb. I will
Mhm.
never do that again. I know a lot of
Really?
people have the best experience with Airbnb. I did not. I did not. And I'm actually the example I'm about to give. It was actually a domestic Airbnb. It was out of St. Louis. It wasn't even European. So I didn't even think to even do European after the terrible experience I had with the St. Louis one. It's just
Oh,
I was in the middle of the hot summer, almost 100 degrees in St. Louis, and the air conditioner and I arrived there on a Saturday. So the air conditioner was not working in this apartment that the person rented out, and I could not get anybody to come fix it because it was a weekend. I was absolutely miserable. I couldn't call anybody. I had to communicate to the person via chat. It was so terrible. So the last email I sent was, I am not staying here. I'll be checking out in the morning and I want my money back. And that's exactly what I did. And I went to a hotel, a nice, great hotel around the corner. And I have never ever gone back to an Airbnb. I am a hotel girl and I will stay a hotel girl.
I am Airbnb through and through. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm not even gonna lie to you. And I'm a
Yeah.
sucker. I'm a sucker for a balcony. I'm a sucker for a view. Oh my god. I'm a sucker for a
Yeah.
view. You hear me? A sucker for a view. I will spend an extra, 50,
Mm,
60, 70, $80 for a great view in a place where I can cook. So I like to cook. And that'll lead me to my next
mm,
question. I like to cook when I'm
mm.
overseas, a few meals. I still like to go out to the local markets and explore the restaurants. So like, okay, so Airbnb is out, hotels is for you. How do you feel about like exploring like cultural dishes in different countries? Or give me some of the ones that you really enjoyed that you thought, you was kind of iffy about, but when you tried it, it was pretty good.
So I'm not a foodie. I'm not the one to be able to. I'm probably opposite when it comes to you, since you said you like to cook. And I
Hmm.
think that's the reason why I also like the hotel, the hotel living, is because I like the luxury of being able to be catered to. I like to be able to have my room cleaned up. I like to be able to come and make sure everything's working. And there's also people staying there. So yeah, I don't have to want to deal with a landlord or somebody that I have to. If I have a problem, I want to be able to walk downstairs to go get it fixed. As far as the balcony, I will pay extra for a balcony, whatever, because I do like a good view too. But
Hmm.
it has to be with a hotel room, and they have to offer it. That's if I don't need the. I like a view, but I don't need the balcony part. I don't need to go outside. But going back to food, I'm not a foodie. So for me, I'm going for the experiences of culture, going into, and I know food can be a part of culture, but it's just I will eat to make sure I'm not hungry, but I'm not going like some of my friends. They were like, "Girl, I'm going to eat. I'm about to get their local fish, their local lamb, their local. I want to do all this," and I'm like, "Let me just get a taco and let me just go," because I'm just like, I want to. I mean, not to be. It's just
No, you
I
good.
don't want to spend
Everybody
my
travels
time.
different.
Yeah,
Everybody.
yeah. It's just like, let me just get something so I'm not hungry, and let me spend more time at the museum or more time in the local market or something like that. That's just me. And oh, you talking about cooking? No, sir. No, sir. I like to cook when I'm home. Must be cooking on vacation. Nah, it's not for me.
Give us some of the and so yeah, so all right. So you say you added more to the list. Flex, big flex, big flex. Tell us some of the places that you've been, some of the countries you've been to.
Okay. So my favorite, you did ask me this in the beginning of the interview. My favorite international solo trip was to Barcelona, Spain. Um,
Mm.
if when I get the chance, or if I ever get the chance later in life, because I already don't want to live in the U.S. I want to be living outside the country somewhere, and I hope it's. I mean, I was thinking it was going to be Europe, but now with this visa, I don't know how hard it's going to be. But let's just say I could get to Spain somehow, or get to Europe. I want to live in Barcelona, Spain, or it will be the West Indies, Caribbean somewhere. So one of those two places. Once this is in my 10-year plan. All right. Um, That's my favorite place. But I've been to other places. I just came from Amsterdam this year. That's where I saw Beyonce. So all y'all who seen Beyonce here in the US, I saw Beyonce in Europe first.
I told y'all big flex. Big
Just
flex.
saying. I saw her first in Europe. I just like I said, I've been to Croatia, I've been to Italy twice, I've been to the UK, I've been to plenty of Caribbean countries. Jamaica's my favorite. Jamaica, Honduras, Haiti. I'm gonna be honest, I can't remember everywhere I've been, but those are some of the exotic places I guess that I've gone. And one of the most beautiful places I've been is Greece. I've been to Mykonos and I've been to Santorini. Those are Instagram worthy. I absolutely love those two cities in Greece. That's one of my favorites. But it is the place to where you take pictures, you stay a night, and then you go. Not
I
much to
got
do
you.
there.
Shout out
Yeah,
to
not
Ross.
much to.
Shout out to Rick
Yeah,
Ross, Santorini, Greece. That's what made me
yeah.
interested in the song. I never knew what Santorini, Greece was. Where it was, you know?
Oh, really?
Yeah, he got a
Yeah.
song named Santorini, Greece. Yep.
So going back to the food though, I will have to say Greece was probably one of my favorites. Greece, Spain, and anywhere in the Caribbean are my three favorite places to eat because they all had flavor.
Mm-hmm.
So Mediterranean food, Barcelona had great food, and then the Caribbean also had great food as well.
Awesome. Awesome.
Mhm.
I so like when it comes to mm, when it comes to the diaspora and you see someone that looks like you in these countries, and I'm not talking about the ones that live there, but like African American travelers that you see, because I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna just say this right now. I barely see us on the plane, and I barely see us over there. Period.
Yeah,
But when you
yeah.
see one of us, how does that feel? Like the feeling that you have inside of you. Like how do you feel? Like what's your reaction when you see us?
I definitely am jumping for joy in the inside.
Yeah.
I mean, for multiple reasons. Now, I will say I'm an introvert. I know it may not come off that way, but I'm more introverted as to why I like driving solo. So
Mm-hmm.
I would rather be by myself, unless I'm going with like a partner or something like outside of that. I would rather go by myself. I don't like hanging out with groups. Just not my thing. But I can't lie. When I see one of us, I will maybe after the second encounter, I maybe like, wave or something because I kind of do want to get a little social with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you can relate to your
Mm-hmm.
kind more, right? It's just like you would have a great conversation with someone, especially because I don't know if you've been on a cruise yet, but I've also been on a few cruises, and I'm not talking so much about Carnival because Carnival, there's a lot of us that go on Carnival, but the other cruises that don't have a lot of us, but they're on there, those are fun people to talk to as well because it's a different kind of vibe, and they're happy to see you. So then you have somebody. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to hang out with someone, you have someone to hang out with. And
I'm gonna be completely
so
honest.
even if, but I was, hmm
I have never been on a cruise. Never.
you got
I'm
to
a,
experience it. You have
I
to experience.
know, I know, I know. I'm gonna do one. I just like to be in the air. That's just me. I just like to be in the air.
That's fair.
Shout out to the
That's
Wings
fair.
of Society. I just like to be in the air. I don't know. Like, well, let's shift gears. Let's talk about the cruise experience. Let's talk about this. Like,
Mm.
what? I guess I watched Titanic too much. Um,
Oh goodness. See, don't be one of them, Aston. Don't be one of them now.
I watched it too much to be in the middle. So just all right. Let's break it down. Let's break down the cruise. Why you like it? Like what's some of the things that you like about the cruise as opposed to
No,
catching a flight?
number one, Aston, you can visit 5 different countries, three, four, 5 different countries in one trip. That
Okay,
alone
that's fair. That's fair.
should convince you to go to a cruise. That alone.
That's fair.
But
That's
so outside of that, all you can eat. You sound like you're a foodie, so all you can eat 24/7. There's never no food. Different activities, so you can do everything from walk the trail, go down the water slide, to just lay out at the pool, or
mm,
take some fitness classes or something. There's plenty to do on the ship. And then when you finally get off to go to the ports, you can just do things you want to do, because you do get a little bit of you get claustrophobic always on the ship. So you like when you be
mm.
ready to get off, but that's enough for me to where it's like I can spend a whole day off the ship and then finally go back. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go home now, and then experience on back on the ship and do some things there. But if you're a social person, you will meet friends on the ship. Talking about some travel people, you will meet, because there's so many people that love to hang out. Um, as far as like the Titanic vibes, you don't get that. You literally feel like you're walking on a city on the water. Honestly, because if you couldn't see the water, you would think you're walking on a city. That's how big, the ship is. So you don't know that you're on the water until you feel it rocking, and that's not often. Or if you go outside to the deck and then you see the water.
Here's the
But
crazy part.
mhm.
Whenever I do island tours, I'm the type of person that would jump in the ocean without a vest and just swim. But I don't want to get on a cruise. That don't make sense.
Yeah,
I'm that
you gotta
person.
put
I'm
yourself.
that person. I would literally
You
dive
gotta.
in the ocean and be fine. Don't no care in the world about sharks, nothing. Like I'm good.
It's. I think it's pretty much the same type of statistics. You're able to get in an accident faster while driving a car rather than a plane falling out the sky. Somewhere in there, it's the same thing with the ship as well. You
Mm-hmm.
don't really hear of ships crashing or getting stuck at sea. It doesn't really happen like that, especially these newer ones that's coming out because they're updated.
Speaking of statistics, that's gonna lead me to my next point. I'm going to give you some statistics that you might not have known, and I want to get your reaction. Okay, it's going to be two set of two set of two set of
Mm-hmm.
statistics. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
number one, when it comes to travel in the U.S., I'm talking domestically. 75% white Caucasians, families, individuals. 75%. Blacks, African American people in the diaspora, 49%. That's the first statistic. The second statistic is, you ready for this? I think your mouth gonna drop on this. And you probably won't be surprised, but I'll say it anyway. Only 17% of African Americans travel international from the United States.
I'm not surprised.
17%. So we're in the
Yeah.
top 1%
Mm-hmm.
out of the 17. 17%. This is the reason why I wanted to launch this and promote and get people excited, because when I look at these statistics, it really hurts my heart. It really does. So what's your reaction to these numbers?
I'm not surprised. Um, I this and I don't mean, I don't want to be philosophical or anything like that, but this goes way back centuries before us to why blacks or maybe people of color are afraid to do things, to take risks because of the repercussions that can happen,
Mm-hmm.
from it. And I think that's just something that's instilled in us generation to generation, to where if my mom or grandma didn't go, well, I gotta go. I don't see why. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Aston. I think the reason why the travel bug is inside of me is because I don't know anything but to travel. I mean, I've gone all over the world, but Disney World is my favorite place to go. It is not so much because of what's there. It's
Yeah.
just because it's because of the nostalgic that comes behind it. That
Mm-hmm.
was our family trip from New Orleans, because I'm from New Orleans as well. Before I moved to North Carolina, so that was our family trip. Every single year we went to Disney, and to this day we still hold. So instead of it being two generations, now it's just my parents and my brother and sister and I. Now it's my parents, my brother and sister and I, our families, our kids, ours mates and spouses and things. Now we all go to Disney World every other year. It's just a family tradition. That has been installed in us, and that's the reason why. And then, outside of that, I can remember my grandfather, my dad's dad. He
Mhm.
owned an RV. He went around. He went around the country just traveling his RV. And this was before he was retired. So when he was retired, he definitely went everywhere. So it was my family knows everything when it comes like knows it, not knows everything, but we knew about travel. So it just there's not really too many people in our family that do not like to travel because it would came from generations prior to us. That's my situation. But when I talk to, because I'm gonna be honest, I'm not surprised by these statistics, but I didn't understand them. So I
Mhm.
asked. I asked people that look like me that don't travel, like you've only been to South Carolina or you've only been to Atlanta. Why is that? Like, what's the point? What's the reason why you're not going anywhere outside of the East Coast? And people had different reasons why. I don't like to fly. I only want to drive, or this is outside of money. So it's just like their reasons are coming. They're just afraid to do something new.
Yep. Yep.
Just the
Definitely.
way it is. Mhm.
Definitely. Definitely. And yeah, she from you. I heard it first, y'all. She from New Orleans, y'all. I'm from Louisiana as
Mhm.
well. We got the best food in the world. Period.
I agree. I
Period.
agree.
Well, let's just say that the most highly seasoned food in the world.
Highly seasoned. Highly
Highly,
seasoned.
highly seasoned. You gotta have the holy trinity. A little garlic powder, a little onion powder. Me personally, I use Tony Chadron. Little Tony,
Okay.
put that on
Okay.
there. So yeah, like the statistics don't shock me, but I feel like that's the reason why, you know, I'm looking forward to where our connection can go, and also just when you look back, and I talked about this in a previous episode, but I'm gonna talk about it again. Is that the fact that back in the early 40s and 50s, they had something called the Green Book, and that was the way for
Mhm.
blacks to navigate the country, right? So we are the Green Book now. We are the ones that create these reels and create these posts and to get people excited, but traveling to let them know that hey, you look like me. I went here. It's safe for you to go over here. And honestly, sometimes we go into uncharted territory where it's not too safe. But
Mhm.
the movement must continue to go on. And
Mhm.
I think it all plays a role into black wealth as well. You know,
Mhm.
us having an understanding of credit, us having an understanding of um, like I said, your side hustle eventually became your main hustle, but you had a side hustle. I feel like everybody should have something else going on because at any
Yeah.
point in time, these companies could just say, you know what, boom,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know, and then life just changes and shifts. So and
Yep.
and then just speaking of that, like how did give me your thought process on how did traveling to all these different countries mold you? Like how did you start to learn more about yourself or learn some things that maybe you took culturally from their country and took it back here to be able to live a better life. Like for me, I'll give you an example. Like for me, like the black community, it was always if you drove a Cadillac, you drove a Mercedes, you was the man or the woman. Now I could care less about any of that. I could care less about what I wear because every country that I go to, like, it's best that you dress to fit in. You know, like wearing
Mhm.
this over there, I would never wear this. I would never wear this in Colombia ever. Like a chain,
Mhm.
like I
Mhm.
would never, I would never wear that. So I guess just share, like, give the viewers and the listeners, I guess, how has traveling um molded you into the person that you are now.
I think the most example that comes to mind is Jamaica. Have you been to Jamaica?
No, I never been to Jamaica, and I ain't waiting to. I feel like this is my opinion. We could agree to disagree. I feel like Jamaica is a place for me where I need to go with. I need to go with somebody of the opposite sex. I need girlfriend.
Okay.
Um, other than that, I'm
I
not going.
that
I'm not going.
that's fair. That's fair. Um, So Jamaica, I think, would probably answer that question the most because nobody I met, and honestly, I say Jamaica, but honestly, any in the West Indies, I'm gonna be honest, any of the West Indies, they do not stress. They have stress, but you will never ever see it on them. Their faces,
Mm-hmm.
you don't hear them yell. It's like, it's okay, man. It's okay, man. It's okay. Like, it's like they are like chill for real. Now, you can say it could be some other factors that make them chill. Whatever the reason is, they are just chill. So I say all that to say, I can be like a kind of a go 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 type of person. Like, okay, I got this planned out, so I'm gonna go to the beach just at this time. I'm gonna go to the museum at this time, and then I'm gonna go
Mm-hmm.
to the market at this time. So I can be that type of person. I can't. I used to be worse, but now I'm a lot more chill now because life is not all about being on a time schedule, especially when you're on vacation. Uh-oh. If you could,
So I wanted to shift gears and talk about. We talked about seeing African Americans there. How was your feeling interacting with the locals, and um, did they welcome you with open arms? Like mine is Croatia. Every other country, like as far as overall, like kind of welcomed you with open
mm-hmm.
arms. Like people in the same hue as us.
Yeah. Um, I'm the European countries outside of Italy and Spain. I don't feel like I was welcome with open arms. I felt like I didn't. There wasn't any racism involved, but they're not the type of people that's going to. And it can. I don't think it. I don't know if it has anything to do with race or is it just that that's just their personality. That's the way they were raised, to where they're not just going to just come up to you and just be like, "Hey, how you doing?" It's just not. I don't think it's done. So in the year outside of the southern European countries like Spain and Italy. You know, Italian men, they like some colored girls. So now, the Caribbean is different. The Caribbean, all day long, they will come up and talk to you. I mean, they love outsiders.
Can you hear me?
Yes, still cutting off.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to ask you that question again.
All right, I'm
Okay.
about to say we might need to wrap it up after that.
Yeah, yeah. And it's two more questions, and then we're gonna wrap it up because we've been
Okay.
talking for a minute. I'm gonna be able to like finagle all the edits.
Okay.
So to talk about, let's talk about the locals. Like what are some of your ways to connect with the locals, and how have the locals treated you in these other countries?
I do recommend to connect with them, go out into like the rural areas or go out to where you will actually see the real part of wherever you're going, whether it's Peru or Barcelona. Like I ventured out to the inner cities of Barcelona. And oh, that brings me to a point I do want to make. Don't always rely on like public transportation as far as like an Uber, whatever the Uber they have or a taxi, whatever. If they have like public transportation, like a subway or some type of tram or something like that, take that because you can go to like the inner cities and see like the real part of the country and or that city and enjoy it that way. Um, Pretty much for me, I have been welcomed even in Croatia. Like even though I got stared at, it wasn't that I didn't feel welcome. Well, maybe I didn't feel welcome, but it wasn't felt like it was like racism or anything like that. It just felt like it was just awkward and weird. But there was nowhere I've gone, thankfully, to where I just felt like, oh, I felt unsafe. I have to go. I just do not like this place. Honestly, I probably get worse looks domestically than I have in other countries. Gonna be honest, some places I've been domestically than other countries. But I would probably have to say my favorite place that I feel the most welcome is anywhere in the West Indies. Anywhere in the West Indies, Jamaica, um, like Honduras, those places, Haiti, those are the places I felt most welcome to go.
I'm going to Honduras in the next few weeks.
Yeah, you're gonna
Any
love it.
insight?
You're gonna
Any
love
insight you can
it.
give me on Honduras? I know about Rotan. What else you got for me?
Actually, that's all I've been was the Boca Raton.
Ah,
So yeah, not anywhere else. I mean, Boca Raton is nothing but beach and eating. So mhm.
Oh, okay. Well, you can tell me how do I get there? Because I know it's not as easy as people make it seem. Like to get there,
Um,
you got did you take a ferry?
so that one was a cruise. So that one was, but
Ah,
to your,
okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. Gotcha.
but to your point, we did have to tender, which is a small ferry to that island.
Okay.
You probably will have to do that. Yeah.
Actually, Honduras is going through their own battles right now. So I got some friends in Honduras, and they still have curfew going on in some of the major cities in San Pedro
Oh.
Sula. So
Oh.
they're going through what El Salvador experienced, getting these gangs out of
Oh wow.
out of the major cities.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, just be careful.
Mm-hmm. So airlines, we didn't talk about that.
Oh,
Airlines.
going back to the airlines.
Look, I brought this up in the first episode, and you know what? This company needs to just make me a spokesperson, and maybe I could get a UGC deal. But what is your thought process behind why everybody talks so bad about Spirit? You already know what I was about to say. Why? And I'm not talking about when the company just came out. They had a lot of issues. I'm talking now.
hmm
I keep.
I don't know. I don't know about now though. I hear now because so many people want to travel, and it's so expensive now to travel by plane. A lot of people, when they thought Spirit was like the Walmart of the air, they like going to like Spirit, and Frontier. People are just
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, I may need to revisit Spirit because other airlines like Delta and American Airlines, United, oh my gosh, it's so expensive to travel with them now. Um, Now, me personally, I'm a budget. So I'm going to budget to where I'm going to go ahead and take the Deltas, the Uniteds, and the Americans, that stuff. Um, Nothing against Spirit or Frontier. Well, two reasons why that they wouldn't work for me. Number one, I'm going to take a carry-on luggage, and the only reason the way to get the cheap ticket with those two airlines is when you don't have that carry-on type of thing. You only have like a backpack, and that's not me. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
traveling that way. So there's no point in me doing that. So I'm gonna have a carry-on. And then two, I do like the type of service. And then I get airline miles with my credit card. So I do like the type of service that I would get when traveling with the bigger airlines or the most popular airlines, more than the smaller ones.
Okay, okay.
Mm.
So speaking of credit cards, is it through your bank or is it through like I know because some of my other travel content creators, he just sent me a link to American Advantage
Mhm.
credit card,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
he told me that mostly for me with my business, I normally stick to credit unions like Navy Federal and some local credit unions, but I'm looking for better perks myself. Like, do you prefer like Chase, Capital One? What's your go to card?
Okay, I don't want to flex again, but my go-to card is American Express Platinum. Uh, Not so much
Big
because
flex,
no,
big flex, y'all, big flex. You know what? We're gonna have to have a credit webinar after this because y'all big flex. That's what I'm
I
talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
use my
That's
go-to credit card. Not so much for the airline miles, although I do get it for that too. Uh, I have now upgraded my travel experience in the airport to luxury living. What I say that is the platinum Amex Platinum card allows me to be able to go into a lounge at almost every airport that I travel to now.
yep. Food,
Yeah, yeah. Food,
drinks.
all you can drink, all that other stuff. Great Wi-Fi. Yeah, a sister girl. I need all that now. So so with that, that's my go-to credit card. I would have to say the second one would be the American Advantage because I'm out of Charlotte, so Charlotte is a hub for American Airlines.
Mm, that's major. That's
Mm-hmm.
major. That's major. Big flex, y'all.
I
Big
know.
flex. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Look, you didn't say green or blue platinum.
I upgraded to platinum last year, and it was the best
That's what I'm
thing
talking about.
I've ever done.
That's what I'm talking about. And
Mm,
you know, it's strategies behind it.
mm,
And you probably gonna agree with this. I feel like, especially if you got a 9 to 5, like the purpose of a debit card, like I use a credit card before a debit card any day because your debit card is not acquiring any points at all. When
mm-hmm.
you know you can pay your bills, you can pay your living expenses on your credit card. Be responsible, right?
Right,
Let's
right.
let me just say that for my listeners and my viewers: be responsible. But you could accumulate so many different points, and that's the reason
Mm-hmm.
why I talked about what airline you choose, because like try to have some loyalty to at least one or two airlines so you could
Mm-hmm.
accumulate points and travel for free. So like I plan to go back to Colombia. I want to go see some friends in Cali, Colombia, and I've accumulated so many points with Spirit that I could go on 3 trips, round trip, don't have to pay for nothing. And I also fly American. I like American.
So if a person doesn't have a credit card to do something like that, the other option is really what you just said, through the airline itself or a third party. So I don't always book through the airline or where exactly, well, the exact like American, like going to AmericanAirlines.com or Delta.com. I sometimes use a third party like Expedia,
Mm-hmm.
and I've required enough points for Expedia to where I can get a hotel stay as well. So that's another option for your listeners to be able to say, these are all options for you to, basically the point that we're trying to make is book to where you can get points, whether it's your credit
Yeah.
card or the airline itself, and or even the hotel itself get points, because
Mm-hmm.
it comes in handy.
Yeah, because I got a homeboy that he has the Marriott uh bon
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Bonvoy
Yep.
Bon
Mm-hmm.
Voyage
Mm-hmm.
card,
The
and
bond
I'm
boy.
probably
Yeah.
saying it wrong. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Bonvoy. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets upgrades too. They actually get access to lounges too.
Oh yeah. See.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. They do their thing, man. Shout out to Choose to Explore. And I want to end it like this, and I think that why you do something is always important. Your why is something like being an entrepreneur, right? You got a why. You got something that you have a family. You have a daughter. You have a fur baby. You got reasons
Mm-hmm.
why you do what you do. So let's break it down from a travel perspective. Like if you can leave, uh, you know, any message to the travelers that's listening on the podcast or watching us on YouTube, what advice would you give them as somebody that may be on the edge of like, I don't know if I want to travel internationally. I don't know if I want to leave the country. What advice could you give them on why they should do it?
It depends on what their reason is why they don't want to do it. To me first, but just to put it out there as to why they should do it is different reasons. Whether it's food, for me, it's culture. I want to experience something outside of what I already know.
Mm-hmm.
Even my own culture. I love African American history. I love anything Black Power, but I want to know. So here's an example. When I just came back from Amsterdam, I learned about Anne Frank as a kid. Do you know who Anne Frank is, or do you remember who
Oh
she
yeah,
was?
yeah, we all
Yeah,
read
yeah,
that book. Yep,
yeah. Well,
I
not
cried at the
everybody. Yeah, not, okay. Not everybody knew who she was. When I came back, because I documented that. And by the way, if anybody wants to see a lot of my travel ventures, along with watching Aston on YouTube, I also have my own YouTube channel that documents some of my travel ventures as well. But I did a video on the Anne Frank Museum, or the Anne Frank house that I went to, and I got a lot of DMs on my Instagram just saying, well, who is Anne Frank and why is she important? Who was she? I'm like, wow, this is the reason why I
mm-hmm.
travel, because me thinking maybe ignorantly would not have thought that people would not know who Anne Frank was. And I didn't mean to come off as demeaning when I asked you, do you know who Anne Frank was? It was just because I received those DMs to say, who is this
Yep.
person and why did you go visit her museum?
Yep. Totally understandable. Trust me.
Yeah. So the reason why the why for me is culture and learning something new. I'm all about learning. And the probably the third why or the second or third why, whatever the reason is where I am, is my daughter. So you mentioned, yes, I have a daughter and I do have a fur baby. And if I can take my fur baby everywhere, I would, because she's my other little child. But my daughter especially, my daughter has traveled since being in the womb. That's how much I adore travel and want her to know things outside of this house. You know, when she was in my womb, homegirl was going to Disney World. We went to Disney World when she was in my womb and when she came out when she was born. She's been to Disney World many times. She has been to so many states. I traveled with her as an infant. I was a single. I became a single mom after, probably close to 2 years old when she was. Um, and I was that mom that had the stroller. I had the car seat. I had her baby bag. I was not stopping just because I was a single mom. I was at
Yeah.
that airport. I was at that airport with her by myself with the stroller and all of that at the airport. And she has traveled with me up and down the East Coast, even as a baby. And I am happy to say, just about 2 months ago, we just got her passport. So
Uh-oh.
it's on now.
Uh-oh. So time out before you keep going. So you about to pull one of those Instagram reels where when my daughter gets older and men try to take her to Atlanta, Houston, and Dallas, and she gonna be like, nah. I've been all over the world.
Yep, I'm gonna be that mom, and I will have to say, because her dad is in her life as well as heavily as well as well. He doesn't travel as much as I do, but he doesn't mind travel. He's half Jamaican, so he goes back and forth to Jamaica all the time. So we got her passport so that she can go back to his home roots to go take her to Jamaica and her sister to Jamaica and everything. So that's one of the reasons why, along with me, I got her passport because I'm ready to take little girl on a Disney cruise. So we planning that.
Yo, big flex.
Yeah.
Y'all go to
Yeah.
Disney right now and pull up that cruise. Y'all go see
Yeah.
why. Big flex.
Yeah. It's not a cheap penny, but it's definitely, if you're a Disney fan, I say it's worth it.
Yeah,
So
it's a great.
yeah, so she's my why. I want her to experience just what you said. I don't want her to say, my mommy or my daddy never took me anywhere. I've only been to North Carolina, Georgia, Florida. No, my mom took me all the way to wherever country, I take her or whatever, France. So I do want a mommy daughter to Paris trip to come up.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you
Hmm.
know what? You brought up a good, interesting point. I feel like when you travel, definitely traveling abroad, you get a
Hmm.
just a different perspective on life. It's just like I feel like we're privileged here. Like the first cold
Hmm.
shower, and I've been an athlete my whole life. The
Hmm.
first cold shower that I ever took was in El Salvador. They didn't have hot
Mm.
water, and that was at
Mm.
an Airbnb, by the way.
Mm.
I wouldn't have
See?
had that at a hotel. But look, I'm glad
Yeah.
I experienced that. I'm glad I experienced that because it showed me how privileged we are here. Like
Mm.
how privileged we are. And but yeah, it was an amazing experience. And you brought up another interesting point of just about connecting. Like, not everybody knows where they come from. Most of us don't know where we come from. Our family's been, destroyed and scattered all over the world. And I think traveling for me, I get bits and pieces from each country that I can learn from.
Hmm.
That's why I travel. That's why I do. That's why I do the things I do.
All right.
That's why we roll with it. But look, again, so before we get off, her Rokeya, her social handle, all our information is gonna be at the bottom of the episode. And to my viewers that's looking out there on YouTube and other platforms, her information is gonna be in the description. So, but I still want to give this opportunity to promote yourself right now again to let
Hmm.
let everybody know where they can follow you, if they want to, get more information on your business, where do they go to find you at to get that
Yes.
information?
Yes, thank you very much. Let's start with the business. The business, anywhere on the social handles, you can DM me and ask me directly about business. But if you like to go straight to my website, it is www.royalcareerconsulting.com. It's a little long, but like I said, you can DM me and just ask me. But just in case, it's royalcareerconsulting.com. Anything for the business, everything from graphic designing, a website, to brand strategy, to wanting to get your business up and running. I'm your girl, I can help. Or I'm your queen and I can help. All right.
There
And
you
then and
go. A
then
queen,
my
queen with a big flex.
there you go. He said it, not me. And then my social handles, I'm most active on um, Instagram, LinkedIn, LinkedIn for personal and business, and YouTube. My YouTube and LinkedIn are probably my biggest two platforms. Oh, also Threads now too. That's a big thing now. Threads as well, but they're all Miss Queen Row and MS Queen RO, Miss Queen Row. And DM me anywhere. Ask me any questions on YouTube. You're going to get everything from life, career, and travel type of videos to where I capture my travel vlogs to now I've actually started a lifestyle series so that you can, it's called My Royal Diaries, so that you can kind of know me from a personal standpoint to where who is Rokeya, aka Miss Queen Row, in real life. So if you're interested in that part, then that's My Royal Diaries. But if you're just interested in the travel, then I have a whole travel playlist on Miss Queen Row YouTube.
There y'all go. Y'all heard it here first.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I really do appreciate you having on. Like I told you before, you family now. You family. So I'm definitely excited to see where this connection can bring us. More collaborations, potentially some business partnerships in the future.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
never know where it takes you, but again, that is the reason why we do what we do, y'all. And I hope that y'all truly enjoyed this interview. Y'all make sure that y'all go follow Rokeya. Y'all go check her out. Y'all make sure that y'all support her business. It's very important that we support each other. It's very important that we keep the dollar in our community. We are the
Mm-hmm.
only race of people. Soon as we get our money, it goes out our hand to another ethnicity.
Mm-hmm.
We are the only people. Let's get that circulation going. Let's get that circulation going. Anybody that needs these services, I need y'all to reach out to her. I need y'all to reach out to her right now, today. But again, I really do appreciate you having you on. And y'all know my motto, I'll see you at the top because the bottom is just too crowded. Hey, I hope that you enjoyed the episode because it definitely was dope to record it with that amazing guest. Tell a friend to tell a friend if you're really vibing with us. If you're feeling the episode and you really enjoyed it, make sure that you write a review on all the podcast platforms. Make sure that you follow the Melanted Traveler on Instagram. You can also check out the video podcast on my page at Aston R. Williams. And if you want to follow your boy, Aston R. Williams, at all social handles. Again, this is the Melanted Travelers Podcast, and I'll see y'all at the top because the bottom is just too crowded. Peace.